Alright, I got everything together, I got everything done. It's time to see if she runs. So, let's give her a good old cranking for a little bit, get fuel up to the carburetor, and see if we get her lit off. Alright, so yesterday we got it started. We were able to get it running, but it won't idle. And then we also noticed that my carburetor is leaking pretty bad. You can see down here. It's leaking fuel down. It's leaking internally. And it's not just the best carburetor, it's quite old and seen throughout its life. So, you can see in the background we got a new carburetor for it. It's a 1905. So the old carburetor is a 1405. 600 CFM, and then a manual choke, where this doesn't have a choke. That's pretty much the difference between the two. So we're putting that new one on, and I'm also going to be resealing these flanges because we also noticed that it's been leaking down into them, and we're having fuel drip out of the bottom between where they're meeting. So I'm going to reseal those with silicone, and then change out the carburetor, and we're going to see if we get this thing fired up and idling. So I'll be back once I'm done with that. Alright. Okay, so with the carburetor changed out, nice new chrome shiny one on there. And we got our silicone put in there to hopefully seal that up a lot better. In order to change the carburetor, it's quite easy. It's just the 4 bolts that hold it down, and 2 on the back, and then the linkage and a fuel hose. Fuel hose on this side. Let's take all that off. It just picks right up off there. And then to change this out, I had to, in order to put sealant on my tubes back here, it has 4 bolts and 1 right there. Get that all done. Unfortunately, you can't really take this piece out with the superchargers on, so if you actually want to take it off, you have to take off one of the superchargers. So with that, I'm all set up and ready to see if she will idle, or at least run. I also got my timing light out, make sure get that on there. That's not good. It's backfiring again. Last clip you saw was me trying to start it with the brand new carburetor and the resealed supercharger intake tubes, which worked. It did start it, it did run, but it did backfire a few times, as you saw in the video I'll show you. And from there, it burns out my gaskets that were on the bottom of the supercharger. So I fixed that. See, this is the old one here. That's actually the better one. Here's the other one. So, burnt out the back of my gasket there. No good. So I had to replace these gaskets. So I tore it down to the superchargers again, resealed the gaskets with a different, or not a different, but the same pretty much material, just newer and different brand. Now we're thinking the bottom of the superchargers machined and our top of our manifold that we made is also machined. We were figuring this stuff would work, and it did. It worked quite well. It had no issues so far, but until it backfired, it quickly and easily blew this stuff out. So either A, we need a thicker material for it. This gassy material kind of held up, but it ultimately ended up in vacuum leaks, so we can't tune the engine. Now, with all that being said, I did drive it, limped it over to where I needed to go to get it over to my brother's work because they had a car lift there, so we could use that we're allowed to use. So we brought it there, we got it up on the lift, we made a nice exhaust for it out of old exhaust stuff we had from where the engine came from that truck, because it got parted out and scrapped, unfortunately. It's hard to keep old stuff, especially when it's smog compliant here in California. So I stopped driving my 79 because it was $300 to get a smog checked every year. And it was a fight. Especially trying to find someone to actually do it. Because now I just want to plug it in the computer and say, all done. They didn't want to put the sniffer in the tailpipe and look at the engine and check everything. But I'm getting off track. Back to this. So I did that. I fixed my gaskets. I remade the gaskets. I put new ones in. Put it all back together with the new carb. Ran it. I was finally getting it idle so I could check the valves. I could do this. So I could do valve adjustment. So what we did is limped it over there. Now just idled it all the way. It's not very far. It's like right around the block. There's only one real main street you have to go out on, and that's just for a block, if that. So after that, we got it there. We're like, okay, we're going to get the air fuel gauge we have. So this one's my boost, this one's my air fuel, water temp, amps not hooked up, and then my oil pressure, which is hooked up. Okay. So we're like, okay, we're going to go bring it down there, get the exhaust put on, get this gauge hooked up so we can see if we're running super lean or not. So we could tune it by that, because we were trying to use a vacuum gauge to tune it like a normal 350 you would. But apparently it doesn't work very well with the supercharger, or we didn't find anything that says it would work with a supercharged application. So we ended up not doing that. And we're just having a hell of a time trying to get it tuned. We're like, okay. We're just going to bring it over there, idle it over, get the exhaust on it, and we'll be good. So I got it over there, idled it all the way. Unfortunately, my cable, the wire for my water temp, got caught in my steering column. Water gauge got caught in a bolt on my steering column, tangled it up in there, ripped that out. Like, that was a scary moment. I thought it blew up the engine because it pulled on my dash and just bang, pulled apart my cluster halfway off my dash. A little bond there that I showed you. So I pulled that halfway off and it broke the wire, and I thought the engine just blew up right there. And I was looking around, I saw my temperature gauge was at 0. I'm like, oh no. Like, what happened here? But, so we'll turn the key over, it fired right back up. No issues, it stayed idling. I was like, okay, I'm going the rest of the way. It's like I just lost my temperature gauge, but you ran it through high cycle 3-4 times and never overheated or anything. And as long as I had my water pump and my fan on, which I did, and never had any issues. I was like, okay. So I'll just go the rest of the way and take care of it once it gets there. Got it over there. Put it up on the rack. No. Yeah, so the rest of the day we did the exhaust. We got done with that around 7 or 8. Starting to get dark out. So like, okay, we're done for the day. Come back and we'll get the engine all tuned. So that's Sunday now. So then it's Monday. It was July 4th, so he had the weekday off. So went back, went to tune it, and that's when everything just kept going downhill. From there, I'm not sure if he hurt the motor when we idled it over, or if after that, or something broke. No, because it's after all the issues, we got it down to either major vacuum leak. Oh, no, it's not backfiring everything once we drove it over there, other than once when we had idling and everything, but every now and then it would have this weird pop out of the exhaust. So now we're for a lean or what. So that's why I decided to get it over there, get the gauge on, get it set ready. Okay, but now, so we did all that. We got the exhaust on, got the AFR gauge and everything hooked up. We're ready to start tuning again. And now it just does not want to run. It doesn't want to idle. It doesn't want to do anything. You fire it up, it goes high RPM for a minute, it goes down. As soon as it gets down to about 1,000, then it just dies out. So we're thinking, okay. And then it starts backfiring again and throughout the carburetor. So okay, so we either have a timing issue, we have some severe vacuum leaks that's causing it to run lean, so we take it apart. We check all of our gaskets and everything. We're like, okay, a few spots again. This time with this stuff, the Curl Pack Felpro. This is a 1 in 30 seconds. That didn't look too bad. There's a few spots that are kind of broken. Well, that's probably what's causing one of our vacuum leaks. So we're gonna get, but we gotta get it out of there that day, because tomorrow they gotta use it for work. And we've already been messing, trying to time it, adjusting valves, doing all this other stuff all day, and it just seems like nothing is working. Now anywhere you start changing the carb, doesn't change anything. The air fuel ratios is constantly to lean. It's so far lean, it's not even on the gauge. Anything we do to try and change it back is not doing anything. You know, but when it first starts up, it'll say super rich, doesn't have any in between, it just goes super lean, and then eventually it just dies off. So like, are we having a fuel issue? Are we having a fuel pump issue? So we check the fuel pump's working, fuel pump's good. It has good flow, what it seems like. My fuel isn't the best. It's about a year old now, because that's when I took the 305 for a test drive and realized the transmission is broken, so we decided to do this. I think a month or two after that, so we decided to do this, and been working on that ever since. But that's pretty much everything you missed. I did a film. Now we're back at the house. I did drive it back with it backfiring and popping and not idling at all, so I had to keep it up. So from there, I'm going back down to the base of it. I'm going to be taking the supercharged off. I'm going to take my supercharged manifold off. Oh, apparently another problem with that is the blue gaskets I have in there. I didn't know about this, but apparently with the aluminum manifold, they wick oil really bad, because we also have a lot of oil in our intake. We're trying to figure out where that came from. I don't have a PVC valve. The only place they come is from the valley there. So I got to replace those. So as I'm taking all that apart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the base timing again. I'm going to change the manifold to a stock, or to the L-Brock manifold that I have, just with the carburetor. So we just do the base engine, make sure it runs good, make sure there's no engine noises, make sure everything's fine, then nothing got hurt on its little mission to get from one place from the house to the shop, and then shop to the house back. So that's my plan. I'm going to tear everything down, and we're going to put the normal manifold, adjust the carburetor on there, and we're going to see, we're going to run it from there, make sure there's nothing damaged or super bad issues, get our base engine set, timed, running good, and then we'll come back and put the superchargers and everything back on. So I'll be back as soon as I'm done getting all that down and ready, or back to show you issues with gaskets or whatnot when I need to. I'll be right back. Alright, so just got the one supercharger off, as you can see in here. It's all oily and everything in there. My bottom manifold there has the blue Velcros in it, and apparently they wick oil on an aluminum manifold. So that's why I'm taking everything apart. I'm going to put the normal manifold on because I got to take it all apart anyways. But you can see here, supercharger, my secondary gasket that I made, cargo pack material. You see it failed again. This is why we're going to put the manufacturer gasket back on, or manufacturer gasket on. We're just going to have to modify for the back here because it has this very thin back here, and we keep having issues with it blowing out of there. But first, we're going to make sure the engine runs good and a base setting. So I'll be back once I'm ready to show you some more stuff. Okay, so we're back. I got everything all hooked up without the supercharger, so we're just going to run it. We're going to get it timed, get it idling good, and then check the valves and everything, make sure the base motor is all set and ready. So once we're ready to put the superchargers back on and get that adjusted out. Clear. What? Is it? It's right there next time limit. Doesn't sound very good either. Maybe you should drop the pan and make sure there's not full metal. What's it reading at?
It was at 8 and it was going up to 10, 12. I can't really tell what the RPM's at, but it sounds like there's something not right in there.
Yeah, I hear it clicking and clacking. That sounds like it's coming from the center. Definitely got an ugly noise. Alright, so the clip you just saw was the engine running, got it idling. After that, we adjusted the valves again to get rid of the click-clacking noise. As soon as we did that, as it was idling, we heard a very faint rod knock. As we brought up the RPMs after that, it got louder. So now the engine's starting to have a rod knock. So during the time that we were having issues trying to get it timed, with the leaking, vacuum leaks, and it backfiring from when I had to move it from the shop when we got the muffler on. Back over here, I must have really done some damage to the bearings, but also they were quite worn out bearings already. So definitely, if you're going to build an engine, just build it right the first time. Because as you see now, I got to pull it out again and build it again. Make sure walls or anything to get damaged, and then we'll just do bearings throughout the whole entire thing. Check the cam, make sure that didn't get damaged or anything. So I wish I'd showed you adjusting the valves, but I didn't hit record on my camera when I thought I did. I'm going to show you the oil in it real quick. Well, I would start it and run it right now, but you just drain the oil out of it, take a look at the oil, and it's got quite a bit of metallic-y look to it. Then we see some little tiny specks in it. So, not going to put oil back in it, and I'm just going to drain it out again, just to start it up for 5 seconds. Anyways, take a gander over here. This is the oil that came out of it. See, it's pretty black already. And you see how it's got that silver swirl, bronze swirl there. You can see it all right there. All the swirls in it. So it's got quite a bit of wear metal in it. You know, no major huge chunks, like nothing just got destroyed, just quite a bit of wear. But like I said, bearings and everything already had a ton of wear. It already should have been replaced when I did it the first time, but we were trying to do kind of a budget build kind of deal, but hoping for the best. You see it didn't work out. So now it's just more time for me to pull the engine out. So if you're doing a budget build, in the long run, it's just cheaper to do it right the first time. And you don't have to pull engine out again, have constant issues like I'm having with this right now. So yeah, so we did the final valve adjustment. Got out the clickety-clackety valve, but there was still that faint rod knock. As soon as you brought up the RPMs, it became quite apparent that there was a pretty bad rod knock. So with that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Mixing Machines. On next episode, we're going to be pulling out the engine and tearing it down again. Which, it's quite simple to pull the engine out. You know, it's quite simple to pull it out as we put it in. So until next time, if you like the video, then you'd be so kind to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next one.